No, I messed up when I have people watching. So with that,
It's not just me. I tripped on the way down to the bed.
no, it's not.
That's where I tripped. I'm walking down here.
Okay, I guess I'm going to start. I should probably turn on the microphone. Okay, my microphone appears to be on. Yep, I can sort of hear myself. I've never worked at a screen this big before. Gosh. So, I have for you an SD card with the complete operating system, complete installation of koha, and about a couple thousand bed records. Oh, wait a minute, sorry. That's a raisin. Here it is. Okay, this is the real thing. And this is the Raspberry Pi. So, as the name implies, I am Fred King. I'm having trouble with the microphone and the mouse, as always. Can you hear me now? Okay, so what happened to the mic? I just gave away a few jokes. had dreams like this. Okay, my presentation is called Got $100, Get an ILS. How to use koha, mark edit, a Raspberry Pi, and a chicken. Chicken's optional. To put together an ILS for about $100. And I have to say, this is a work in progress. It's also sort of a request for peer review, because as I'll say later on, I lost a few days getting really stuck. Every presentation has to have a cat picture. I haven't seen any anywhere else. What is wrong with you people?
I knew I should have put one in my slot.
Yep. And I would like to thank a few people. First three are people who helped me through the problem I had. Second person is my wife, who has listened to me talk about co-op for 6-7 years now. So why Raspberry Pi? By the way, this is sort of peer review because I want to take this out on the road. I think a lot of you know what I'm talking about, but I'd like to see if you think that people who haven't heard of it will understand. So, Raspberry Pi, that incredibly complex computing platform needs extensive training to utilize, like this technical manual. The latest version is actually probably used as a desktop. Readily available. Basic one is $35, which is a lot cheaper than, let's say, a server or a desktop or whatever. And yeah, there are a lot of Raspberry Pi projects around. Sure, let's try an ILS. And I wanted to see if it was possible. So, okay, it's at $100. I got a Raspberry Pi 4B with 2 gig RAM and a power supply. That's what drives up the price a bit. I got it from Woot and I had a $10 coupon. I'm going to say it was around $55. Then I got a case, that's about $8, and a micro SD card. Again, got it from Woot, got half a dozen. So I'm going to pretend that was $10. And I cheated a little bit because I assume that everyone who takes something like this on has a drawer of things with a few keyboards. And there's probably a monitor hanging around somewhere. And you have a network connection already. And at least for flashing the drive, you need another computer. I should warn you that if you drop the SD card on the floor, it can be difficult to find. And if you have a dog that likes to eat things on the floor because she considers everything on the floor to be hers, well, fortunately she didn't, but it's something to be aware of because these things are awfully small. But put it together and we're off. Except if you put the card in the wrong way, it gets stuck inside the case. So you have to sort of shake it for a while to keep it out. Yeah, that's a 64 gig card. Got lousy continuity in this. Just deal with it. So the steps: install operating system, install and configure koha, get some ISBNs, use MarkEdit and Z3950 to harvest mark records, add the records, upload to koha, then hard part, adding items. There's a lot of information about the Raspberry Pi available from raspberrypi.org. So you can get a lot of background, which I'm not going to give you because I only have 45 minutes. Last time I looked, which was, I think, last Saturday, Raspbian is the only operating system available for the Pi 4. There is an unofficial Ubuntu. I couldn't do it. But if you go to raspberrypi.org, there are several versions. And I chose Lite, which is the bare bones, no desktop server version. It's about 400 megabytes. I should add that it is possible to add a desktop. I haven't done it with this one. Again, I ran out of time. But it doesn't take that much more space or memory. which actually surprised me. Then you install it in the car. This is where, again, you need another computer, Boolean etcher, and it will look for just about any kind of disk image. And it takes a few minutes. And you can see I actually managed to log in. And I'm cheating a bit. I already knew the IP address, and I'm using SSH because then I could do screenshots. Because one on the right, or two on the right, I actually took with the camera, and they look kind of weird. Okay, so ready for the first part. Plug in the cables, turn it on. Then you have to run Raspberry config to set locale, keyboard, set up SSH. I had a hard time setting up the keyboard to US, but trial and error. If you really screw things up, as I said this morning, do another image. They're ready to install it. And these instructions are in the Koha wiki, a couple of different files. A third step, show your pi where to find the software, just like a regular installation, except the part in red, bracket arch equals I386 bracket, because if you leave that out, you won't be able to install it, I discovered. And then, of course, you add the key, and this has troubled me from the beginning. I always forget that it's a capital O, not a 0. Probably too late to change that in the Ubuntu system. Then, yes, apt-get update, apt-get upgrade. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself here because when I was trying to run the web installer, I hit a brick wall. By the way, if you're worried about the chicken, you can see it is sitting on a doily, so it's okay. But I ran into a problem with Mojolicious. And you know, the first three people I thanked, they're the ones that helped me get over it. Though it took me a while. I lost about a day and a half. And I'm not sure which command worked, but I tried all of them, and somehow it worked. I'm doing this on my own. I don't have to know how it works. I just glad it did. By the way, as soon as I can, I'm going to upload this so you can follow along. Probably be at avengingchicken.online. You install Common, install MariaDB, and then you get to create the library called livecat. Sudo koha create -- create db livecat. And it works. Made a few changes in Apache so it could actually find everything. I run the staff interface on 8080. You have to tell the configuration file where to find it. You also have to know the IP address of your computer. If config will tell you that. And you need to get the password, which John covered earlier. Yes, there are two different passwords. XQ, capital Y, capital W, capital U, TCH, capital E, Z, capital Z, 0 PJC, because it's 0. I suggest you write it down and make sure you get it correct, because I mixed up a couple of letters, and guess what? Didn't work. Funny. And that will take you to the web installer. And the default is koha_instance name. Remember, I created the library livecat. I'm really original in this. And the password, web installer, you choose your language. I was so happy when I got the Perl dependencies okay. I could breathe again. Let me get another bottle of beer. I thought about including a certain brewery in the thank you notes, but I'm already promoting one commercial product. I probably shouldn't do two of them. Web installer, I just chose the default for pretty much everything. Set up database, success. The really great thing is I kept getting success. Everything was working because you're not seeing the slides where I didn't get something that worked. Mark 21, the default settings, I chose some of them, not all of them. Now this is sort of interesting because I was interested to see whether the Pi could handle the load. This is a really small computer. Does it have enough oomph? For a consortium with 1,000 transactions a minute, I doubt it. But when I was installing this, this is a command called top. My laser pointer isn't working. But if you go down to the fourth line, memory, out of about 2 gigabytes, 326 megabytes were used. That's pretty good, about a sixth. Yeah, the processor went from about very little to 50% maybe, so it was operating within capacity, which made me kind of happy. After mandatory data, installation complete. I had to create a library. I called it Pi. Name is Raspberry Pi. Created a staff user. There's a super user. You need the little red cape. Administrator platform, obviously Avenging Chicken. New item type, general item code because setup needs it. Circulation rule, I didn't care about that at the moment because I had a presentation to put together. Congratulations, you're finished. AC, and you're at a page that probably looks familiar. Okay, now what? I'm cheating again because I'm recycling a presentation, but I'll get to exactly why I'm cheating later. So there's a wonderful program called MarkEdit, and if you haven't used it, you need to make its acquaintance. Anyone who has to fiddle with MARC records should use it or know about it. It's free, but it's not open source. The magnificent Terry Reese wants to keep control over it. He makes a good point. He also got an award. He never sleeps, maybe. What does it do? It's a bit like a Swiss Army knife. Oh, I'm back. When I started, I knew about the knife and the corkscrew. Yeah, I know there's no corkscrew here. Deal with it. But then I found it could do a few more things, and a whole lot more things. And yes, this is my kitchen. I actually do use all of those. And this is what the main screen looks like. And you notice on the top line, third one over, Z3950 SRU client. Bringing me a microphone because that one's not working. That's okay. Yeah. Where? This way? No. Okay. Which button? Yeah, I'm giving a presentation on how to put something on a Raspberry Pi, and I can't turn on the microphone. Yeah, I know. Okay, Z3950 SRU client. Z3950, yeah, I know you know it, but it allows you to harvest MARC records by ISBN, ISSN, LC, control number. For today, I'm going to be using ISBNs. So you have to get your ISBNs. This is part of my book collection. I got my first book when I was about 6 weeks old, and this was during the Eisenhower administration. I got a lot of books. Then I got married, And we're both in our 50s. My wife has a lot of books. And a lot of the books have an ISBN barcode in the back. And you can get a barcode scanner. By the way, that's not included in my $100 because you can actually type it in. Or if it's worth, I think I got mine a few years ago, paid $35. It's more expensive now, but if it's worth it to you, it's worth it to me. Go ahead and buy one. Now, this is where I'm cheating because I ran out of time and this Library of Congress C3950 was getting kind of flaky. It kept timing out, and anyway. So I actually got barcodes from my own library. Sorry, my own medical library at work. I had got 5 different categories: circulating, reference, reserve. We have a popular health collection, basically, what did you read that made you want to become a doctor? And then we got another collection, the Lynch collection, which is ethics and end-of-life care. I extracted those from koha. And here we go. This is search on the popular ISBN. At the top, you can see I am using the NOM UTF-8 database. You can add more. And here's a screen of it in action. I had to do several screenshots before I could get to the screen where it was getting all of the MARC records, because it won't find a lot of them. I wanted to do pie charts, I ran out of time. But maybe slightly more than half the circulating books, half the reference. Pretty good selection of reserve and Lynch and 2/3 of popular health. And this is just searching one database, National Library of Medicine, on one key ISBN. Yet the records actually don't add up. I'm not sure why. Someone with more knowledge of koha than I do for Z3950 can. I know, yes, I know they have several O2O fields like the ISBN 9, the 13. But I think if you keep at it, I tried it with my home database. I got some from the Library of Congress and from the New York Public Library. And I would like to think that if I kept getting enough databases, I might get a fairly substantial collection. MARC Breaker will change the machine-readable MARC file to something you can actually read. And this is what it looks like. Now, one problem is that koha would really like to know the default item type. Well, that's not as much of a problem as you might think. All you have to do is, edit each record and put in a 942C. No? Okay. There's a function in MARC Edit, add MARC field. So look for 942. C, add field data, subfield C, insert, add field, and there towards the bottom you can see insert. Back to koha. If you've ever done cataloging, you know the stage for import. Records actually staged. I was really thrilled at this point. It was also getting late on Sunday. There they are. It worked. So what does it look like from the staff or client area? Well, obviously bare bones, because I just added, yes, this really is running on a Raspberry Pi. If you do a search, like search surgery, and it found 269. I'm not sure how many total records there are, but a couple thousand certainly. And though I had 45 minutes, that's all for now. It works. As soon as I can, I hope within the next week, I'm going to upload a PDF of these slides. And if I can find out where to park a gigabyte download, I'm going to upload the Raspberry Pi image. I actually was sort of hoping to do a live demo, but time and knowledge that wouldn't work because all computers hate me when there's an audience around dissuaded me. Okay, any questions? Yes. Sure. Yeah, I mostly ad-libbing, so it won't be the same. I don't know, you want me to do the whole show again, just with the mic so posterity can hear it? You want to hear me twice? Okay, how late do I have the room? Till about 2? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'll start over. If you want to hear it a second time, you're welcome to stay. And if you're not, any questions?
I ran into the problem that the time consuming that it required this is that field. And I use, instead of using mark edit, stuff like that, I'll just run everything through a mark modification template to insert all of that as upon record creation. And that you really have no idea what you're doing in mark edit, you're totally petrified. The mark template can handle all of that.
Yes, I would have done that if I'd known how to do it. Yes. Again, I know it can be done. I've never done it because I don't know how yet.
And I have never done it either, but I just said because I'm running two different databases.
But notice I said yet. But I have a lot to learn. Anything else? Okay. Gonna get the same jokes too. Okay, right now it's doing the next screen and the notes. Is that gonna do something weird with the recording? Okay, this one is for posterity. Hello, posterity. And I hope the people who saw it the first time will laugh in the appropriate places.
That'd be my thought.
Because I'm going to start out with, I have for you, presented for your approval, a micro SD card with a complete operating system, a complete installation of koha, and a couple thousand mark records. No, actually, that was a raisin. And since I'm using a handheld mic for the second version, I don't actually have enough hands to take out the SD card, but trust me, there's one in here and you'll get to see it in a couple of minutes. Sorry, I had to swallow the raisin. As the name implies, I'm Fred King. I'm a medical librarian at Sir Washington Hospital Center, which doesn't have a whole lot to do with my presentation, which is called Got $100? Get an ILS. How to use koha, mark edit, Raspberry Pi, and a chicken. Chicken's optional. To put together an ILS at minimal cost. Every library presentation needs a cat. I've never seen him that big. Wow. And this is the only cat picture I've seen for this whole conference. What is wrong with you people?
I knew I should have put one in my slide.
And now the thank yous. First three, Tomas, Mason, and Mark, helped me through a difficult situation, which I will come up with in a moment. And Anne is my wife, who has listened to me talk about co-op, actually, probably since about 2012. We got married in 2012, so co-op came along with the marriage. And I brought Koa, she brought dog and a cat. So why Raspberry Pi? It's a very sophisticated, complex computing platform. It needs extensive training to utilize, as you can see by the tech manual on the right. The latest version is pretty much pushing a desktop in computing power. A primitive desktop, but still usable. Like my desktop at work probably has about as much power. They're easy to find, and the basic model is $35. And there are a lot of Raspberry Pi projects, so hey, why not an ILS? As I said in the previous presentation, it's fun. Wanted to see if it was possible. And if I can actually get a working model up, I can take it around to various library conferences and publicize Koa. So starting out, the left is the Raspberry Pi 4B, 2 gigabytes RAM. Don't see the power supply because it's not in the picture. I think I got it for around $55. The case was something like $8, and the micro SD card, $10. These are all estimates. About 55, about $73 so far. Yeah. And I'm assuming you have a drawer full of things, a keyboard, mouse. You don't need a mouse. You have an extra monitor hanging around, got a network connection, and you've got another computer. Technically, after you have it set up, you probably don't need most of those things. Okay, you need a monitor and keyboard, but if you just want to run a standalone and install desktop, you can run it by itself. I should warn you, the SD cards are really small, and if you have a dog that thinks that anything on the floor is hers, you might end up with a problem. But you know, SD cards are pretty cheap, so you don't actually have to try to recover it. We're off. But I should note that if you try to put the SD card in the wrong way, it'll be inside the case and you'll have to shake it until it comes out. That only takes a few minutes. So the steps of setting it up: install the operating system, install and configure Koa, data list of ISBNs, use MarkEdit and Z350 to steal, harvest MARC records, edit record, upload the Koa, add the items. Doing all of those except the last one. There's a lot of information available online. If you go to raspberrypi.org, I'm not going to try to tell you everything because it's already there. So what I did was download Raspbian Buster, which is their version of Debian. Right now, that's the only operating system for the Pi 4, which only came out earlier this year. There is an unofficial version of Ubuntu, but I couldn't get it to work. So I am downloading Raspbian Buster Lite, which is sort of like the Ubuntu server version, bare bones. As I said before, you can install a desktop. I've tried it on a Raspberry Pi 3. It works, and it doesn't take up an enormous amount of system resources. I have to install image on an SD card. When you enter free open source, you can deal with pretty much any image file. And here I am flashing the SD card. Then just plug all the cables in, turn it on, and you're at the login prompt. Uh, Username is Pi, password is Raspberry, and that's what I've used all along. I haven't changed it. The system doesn't like that, but I haven't. So turn on. Okay, you have to run raspi config to set the locale, the keyboard layout. In the red on the top right, I am enabling SSH, so I can go from my big computer and do screenshots, because this is what a screenshot looks like when I did it with my camera. Computer's up and running with an operating system. Now you're ready to install koha. The first two lines are the sources for my information, both on koha community wiki. You have to tell the Pi where to find the software. In red, you'll see arc equals I386. If you don't put that in, the system isn't going to work. They'll tell you doesn't support the architecture. Then you put in the key that we get. That's a capital O. Took me a while. Figure that one out. Update the software packages. Upgrade the software. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but I ran into something that actually delayed me for about a day and a half, which is why this is a work in progress, which is the Modulicious plugin open API. It wouldn't let me get past this because it didn't install. So I sent out a plaintive message to the koha list, and they sort of responded, but I tried a few things. I still had run into a brick wall. How many have? 3, 4 times. But if you're worried about the chicken, it's sitting on a doily. But I finally put together 4 different commands. One of them worked. Don't know which. I don't have to. I'm not a real sysadmin. Then you install koha, the MariaDB, and the moment you've been waiting for, create your library. Here called LiveCat because I'm really inventive and original. You have to make a few changes to the web server. Tell Apache that you're running something on port 8080 for the staff interface. You have to tell Apache to listen on 8080. The one center, port 81, just in case I want to run something else. It's unnecessary. To set it up, you need to know your Pi's IP address. And if you run a command if config, second one down inet, this one 192.168.5.137. And then you have to get the password. Sudo koha-password livecat, instance name, and it'll put out a string of gibberish. And yes, the left and right one are different. And yes, there is a fair amount of bad continuity in this. Sorry. So you go in, the default koha username is koha_ instance name, in this case livecat, put in the gibberish. Hey, let me in. Continue next step. If everything is running correctly, you'll get this. After a couple of hours of frustrating. Go to database settings, more database settings. Set up database. Success. Database tables created. Next step, basic configuration, mark flavor, mark frameworks. So I kept thinking, okay, can the Raspberry Pi handle this? Is it using up all its memory, running at top speed, and it might catch fire? You notice the one I have has the 4 comes with 3 different heat sinks. There's a program in Debian called top, which will tell you what programs you're running and how much memory and CPU time. Now, third one down, MIB mem. This has about 2 gigabytes, about 1400 free, 326 used. 1UP percentage CPU. It's running about 20%. And I found that to be common through most of the Koha operations. So the Raspberry Pi really can handle it. Yes, I sound surprised. I was. So default data, installation complete. Create the library. The library is called Pi. Data Raspberry Pi. Set up the default staff. Get the patron category. Create an administrator patron. Of course, it had to be the Vengeance Chicken with username AC, password K, capital KOHA1. Item type, circulation rule, web installer complete. So you log in and you have something that looks familiar, huh? So now you have your system. But now what? A bunch of bid records. I'm cheating again. Not just because I stole a few slides from a presentation I gave a few months ago. But I'd like to introduce you to MarkEdit, which, if you don't know about it and you work with Mark Records, let me introduce you to MarkEdit. It's free, but not open source. It's run by Terry Reese, who never sleeps. And he got an award a few months ago that was very well deserved. What does it do? It's sort of like a Swiss Army knife. I knew about the knife and the corkscrew. Yeah, there's no corkscrew here. But it does more things, a whole lot more things. And I know about, a tenth of them. Yeah. This is what the main screen looks like. You notice? Z3950 SRU client. Z3950 is a protocol that lets you harvest MARC records, use ISBN, ISSN, LC card, LC control number. Today I'm using ISBNs. So you have to collect the ISBNs. Here's my book collection. I got my first book when I was 6 weeks old. I was in the Eisenhower administration. My wife also collected books. We got married in our 50s. And combined, we have a lot of books. And a lot of them have the ISBN and a barcode in the back. So I get a barcode scanner. That's not included in my $100 because you don't actually have to do it. You can type it in. But I ran out of time and the Library of Congress Z3950 was a bit flaky. So I used my work library. Got 5 categories: circulating, reference, reserve, popular health, which is what book made you want to become a doctor, and Lynch collection, which is ethics and end-of-life care. Extracted ISBNs from the collections, went to the Z3950 client, and one called pop_ISBN.txt, which is the National Library of Medicine UTF-8 database. And here it is, downloading records. Doesn't find all of them, but I made sure that I got a shot that claimed it was. And it found maybe slightly more than half the circulating books, fair chunk of reference, a lot of reference, reserve, maybe all Lynch, and popular health reading about 2/3. The numbers don't add up, I know, but some records have more than one ISBN, but I'm not sure exactly how they don't add up. Then you go into Mark Breaker, which changes from machine-readable MARC file to text MARC file, which looks like that. Now, Koha really wants a 942C. You could use the add delete field utility. For each record, add 942, subfield C cert. Apparently, Koha does this too. This is the way I know how to do it. Then recompile, stage, Upload, stage, import, dash into the catalog. There they are. This is what the user interface looks like. Just the way it looks on pretty much any Go installation. Yes, this really was running on a Raspberry Pi. And that's what it looks like. I looked for surgery. From our collections, we have 269 results, and that's just keywords. Probably should have done title search. I didn't. Oh well. And that's all for now. Thank you. Wow, it's your second round of applause. Thank you very much.
Oh, no, oh.
We're going to go ahead on cheap wine, which is about 1 or 2 grams.